Good morning, everyone. You call the meeting to order. Everyone please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Down to your cell phones, please. Ms. Self, we have roll call.
Mayor Plummer.
Here.
Commissioner Brooks.
Here.
Commissioner Fields.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Commissioner Woodrow.
Here.
We have a quorum and ready for the transaction of business.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 4A, we have approval of the November 26, 2024 minutes. I have a motion to approve.
So second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections or comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This brings us to second reading of ordinance 2024-34, which is an ordinance addressing the medical cannabis and creating a special license and setting the fees and addressing related processes for such licenses. This was presented at first reading, but what this does is we previously passed the ordinance which would allow cannabis-related businesses in the city of Paris. This is coming back, defining what the license looks like, what's the process, what does it look like to revoke or repeal it, as well as the fee. Brian, did you have anything you wanted to add to this item?
No, just to state that these largely come directly from the statute, the Kentucky regs, or very, very similar ordinances that other cities have passed, which, is your all's option, but it's good too, to have consistent rules from location to location for people to follow.
Have you had anyone to ask you anything about these?
We have not.
Good. Good.
I move we approve ordinance 2024-34.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion on this item? Hearing none, Ms. Sells, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Plummer.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Commissioner Fields.
Yes.
Commissioner Gray.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodrow.
Yes.
Motion carries.
This brings us to ordinance 2024-35. This is a first reading. It's an ordinance related to the creation of an entertainment destination center licensed premise in the downtown of Paris, further directing the city of Paris to apply for an entertainment destination center license from the Kentucky Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, and further establishing the requirements for the license to sell alcoholic beverages within the common areas of the destination center. This item's come before you all for a couple of times for discussions on what we want this to look like, what we want to apply for at the state level. Excuse me. We did hold a opportunity for the public to come in on December 3rd to provide feedback. We didn't really get much engagement on that, and I haven't received any written comments pro or against the topic. It's been published in the newspaper, and so what this will do, as we had discussed, is keep it going down Main Street only. We're not looking to expand into any of the side streets or anything like this, and we decided the first beginning would be just for during special events. So as a reminder, this license will have an annual cost to the city of approximately, currently the amount's $2,577 annually. The state obviously could change that year to year. And I do want to just remind and reiterate that for people who have a license, who are coming into the events, that don't have traveling privileges as part of their individual licenses. So caterers or, the businesses downtown who want to come out onto the street, they will still be required to get a special event license. This license will not replace that. All this license will do and will allow, when people purchase an alcoholic beverage, to be able to travel from one location to the other and kind of walk down the street during the event. So I wanted to make sure to reiterate that this will not change some of those concerns that we had experienced in the last year or so. But it'll allow for some more control and allow for us to be consistent with what the state statute requires. So the next step will be for us, if this ordinance passes, to actually put in the application with the state and work through their management plan. Any questions on this item? Brian, did you have anything you wanted to add? Any further item for that? Okay. This will bring us to first reading of ordinance 2024-36, which is an ordinance amending the text of the city's zoning ordinance, creating a neighborhood revitalization design character overlay. And Ms. Michelle is here. I don't see Mr. Linden, but I will go ahead and talk briefly on this, and then Michelle's here if you all have any questions. So what is being proposed, and this came as a recommendation through the Planning Commission and was approved by the Planning Commission back in June of 2023, but had not yet come before us because I believe that they were working in tandem related to the West Side overlay. So this is not approval of the West Side overlay. What this does is this enters text into our planning ordinance, which allows us to establish revitalization overlays in general. So this just provides some framework, and if it's the pleasure of the commission, I'll walk through a couple of items I want to point out on the ordinance language. On the second page of the ordinance, which is page 24, we did add some language to try to clarify that, because this has been a topic previously, that items like the historic overlay and as well as this one are not true zoning. They lay on top as an overlay. So previously they're noted in a zone, but they are as a district, but they are not standalone. So by adding an overlay, it doesn't change the underlying zone of an area. So that's something I would recommend as we look at our planning ordinance in the future. We probably need to do additional clarifying language, but we did add a sentence or two to try to clarify that for conservation, historic, and this new proposed overlay, that they act as overlays, not true zones. As we go down, you can see, I do want to point out that in item E, which is on the next page, it establishes the criteria of what would need to be considered for a neighborhood or a revitalization overlay to be created. I want to point this out because language came to us from planning and zoning, but we as staff made some modifications to the proposed language. Of note, under 7, we wanted to make sure to add language to indicate that the purpose of these overlays is not for the city to administer HOA covenants. So we're just adding some language to make sure that we know what the purpose of this is very clear. As you go through it, it establishes some procedures and some processes. I won't walk through any of those, but it does in item H, which is found on page 27 of your packet, say these are the types of things, and they're up here, so I won't read them all off, that a overlay district may propose additional regulations on. So I wanted to highlight that. So the purpose of these proposed revitalization overlays, and again, this isn't adopting a specific one, just the generic framework so we can come back with them, is to allow the city to identify there may be certain areas of a neighborhood or a commercial or a mixed use zone that you say we want to create a certain architectural design, or we want to make sure that we're enhancing the design standards in this area based on different factors that come forward. So this provides that overlay for that to be defined. The city of Paris, the Board of Commissioners, would be the ones to go forward and say, this is what we want. We want a neighborhood to potentially have this. Let's work with planning and zoning through that process. So it's not designed that an individual resident of a neighborhood could come forward to, make these changes. It's really the city commission is the driver of those. Brian, before I turn it over to Michelle.
Yeah, that's all laid out in section lettered I. So the proposal of a district initiates here with this body. If this body elects to go forward, of course, any property owner is free to advocate to its elected officials or the officials you appoint for that. And I would suspect that's how it would happen. It's not like someone would just walk in one day and ask and you all would vote to do that, I wouldn't think. So you all then make the decision to start the process. And so that would then follow very much like a map amendment or a text amendment, where it starts here, it's then referred to the planning commission for them to do the notices, conduct the hearing, collect the data, get the feedback, look at what's appropriate and not, come up with the restrictions, and then all that comes back to you all. But yeah, as you said, because this is not an individual property owner changing their own property to a degree. This is individual property owners changing their neighbor's property. And so I want to make it clear that that process starts here, follows what would be a KRS 100, which is the planning and zoning part of the statute, and then comes back here for final. The notice provisions are in here, which have been followed all along, and I literally took them from the ordinance that we already have, which is consistent again with the statute. But those types of notices are different because you don't have to post the sign. It's similar to a text amendment, but then there is obviously a written notice mailed to at least one property owner of the property.
Michelle, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I think you covered everything. I'm here if there's any questions.
I would appreciate, I do appreciate whoever took the time and energy to do this, because it's something that's needed to be done. I've had a problem for years with a conservation zone, and I don't know if we've got that far yet, but it needs to be an overlay. It does not need to be a conservation zone. To bring up a sore wound, the country club, there's some 40 acres over there, and there's a belief in the general public that that whole 40 acres is in a floodplain, and it's not. But it was zoned conservation. And you couldn't do anything with the whole property. And I think this is a good thing to straighten out and do these overlays. I change gears here. I was concerned with the west side just automatically putting in an overlay zone and restricting people that don't understand planning and zoning. They couldn't do anything with their property. You know, if they wanted to fix their porch up, they were bound by restrictions. But I think we're going at this the right way to do it as this group, starts the process and hears it. So thank you, whoever worked on this and got it refined to this, because it's a long time over.
And to that point, what was added at the very beginning of the ordinance, which is in section 8100, as we identify the districts, ag, residential, commercial, business, industrial. So we added that asterisk after conservation and historic, and then obviously for the new revitalization, and note that they're. But to your point, the conservation overlay is largely driven by the floodplain.
Exactly.
And it's done, the notice to the property owners through the floodplain. So the Paris, Paris Village, a chunk of that sits in the conservation. Obviously, it was rezoned in, I believe, the 90s, and it's clear to commercial development there. So, but that's to that point, is the overlays are just kind of came in through the floodplain administration.
So again, thank you for the people that worked on this.
Any further comments on this item? Okay, that is a first reading. So that brings us to consent agenda. There are 6 items on consent agenda. Would any of you like any of these items removed to discuss separately? Hearing none, may I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as proposed?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Just quickly before we have the vote, want to point out on items A and items B, we have 2 change orders, one related to the solid waste and recycling depot project, and then one related to the modifications at the water plant and the distribution system. I have these on consent agenda because they are deduct change orders, which I'm always pleased to see, and thank you to staff and all the firms that are helping us manage those projects. That it's always, we celebrate when a deduct change order comes in, but I do want to make note that that's not typically what we see in projects. So I want to make sure we're not laying that standard there oftentimes change orders come in as a positive, so that's some good news for us today. I do expect some further change orders on both of these projects, minimal, but we'll see how those go along. Any further comments or questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to regular agenda. The first item is Municipal Order 2024-94, and Mr. Mayhorn's gonna present this to you. This is a municipal order approving an agreement with Granite for internet services and support. Mr. Mayhorn?
Good morning. Good morning. So this item is to discuss, options for internet service for all city facilities. So currently, right now, we have 9 separate internet accounts, to be able to provide internet service to all of our, to City Hall and then outside departments, you know, such as water plant, the wastewater plant, and those areas. So with the phone project, you know, that we had went in and looked into the phone system upgrades, also brought up, you know, the internet options too. So staff has, you know, put some time and effort into meeting with different vendors, explore different options, checking references on these different vendors. Had a vendor, Granite Communications. They're a nationwide vendor that is a reseller of Spectrum Internet. They're one of the largest resellers of Spectrum Internet. So we had met with them several times, and they put together a proposal that would allow for them to service all 9 of our city facilities under one bill, one agreement, one contact person. They take care of all of the support, which would help with, you know, the timeliness of getting a hold of somebody for support. So currently right now, with the 9 accounts, the city pays roughly $2,421 a month for those 9 accounts. What Granite has proposed is a monthly charge of $21.27 to supply the same speed of internet, the same service to all of those locations. And this will be all on one bill, which, you know, would streamline things with AP. And we would have, you know, one designated person to contact for any kind of support, you know, if there's a need for that support. Another item that is included in this, and it is included into this price, is our elevator line. You know, there is an emergency phone inside the elevators, and it's an older style phone line with just a basic landline phone. With the upgrades of the telephones to the voice over internet, that throughout that we needed to do some upgrades to that telephone in there also. Granite is also a provider of a service that replaces that, it's called a POTS line, which is a basic telephone line, with a more of a data-driven phone line that has some redundancy. So it bounces off of internet provider, cell phone provider, whichever. If that phone is picked up inside there for an emergency, it's going to get a connection somehow, whether it's, you know, through AT&T or through Spectrum or through T-Mobile or whoever is available. It takes priority over any of those lines. And that's something that we're required to do, and it's also included in with this price, which would actually, you know, be a little bit more of a savings than initially placed in here.
From what I'm seeing, you're saving money both ways, and I understand it's locked in the price for 3 years.
Yes, it's locked in for 3 years. Another feature that they add on, and kind of throw out some of the, you know, the references. This same company, they provide this same service to most of the county school systems, you know, here. A lot of other cities, I've reached out to some other cities and asked, you know, how you know, the implementation, all that went, they said it, you know, all went great. But one of the other features that they put on is they have a 24/7 monitoring, that if our speeds drop down below what we're paying for, our designated, technician will get a notification 24/7. And that gives them a chance to go ahead and start looking into it, because there's times that our speeds may drop down and we don't realize, but they will know. And I also have had some, in-depth conversations with dispatch, just to make sure that, you know, that they were on board with this and that this wasn't, you know, gonna cause any kind of disturbance, you know, with them, and they all seem, you know, pleased with this.
Is that where the elevator call goes to, central dispatch, or someone's stranded in the elevator?
I think is that where they go, chief? Yeah.
So this is
Sounds like a no-brainer.
good news, obviously, the reason it's regular agenda, not consent, is because, as you mentioned, it's a 3-year contract, so since that's not standard for us, we wanted to make sure to be transparent with that. Any questions for Mr. Mayhorn on this item? Sir,
Thank you.
We need a motion?
we do need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Ellis, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fields?
Yes.
Commissioner Gray?
Yes.
Commissioner Woodruff?
Yes.
Mayor Plummer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next item is Resolution 2024-21. This is a resolution authorizing the Paris-Bourbon County Joint Planning Zoning Commission proposed Envision 2024 Comprehensive Plan Goals and Objectives. So this is another item that we're reaching back a little bit on. So back in April 27, 2021, these items were brought forward for presentation and discussion. And Marissa will be able to scroll through these for you briefly. But as part of establishing the comprehensive plan and updating that process, there has been a tremendous amount of effort from planning and zoning to get neighborhood input, go through processes to seek feedback on what that comprehensive plan should look like. So as a part of that, different strategic goals have to be identified and then adopted by the city commission. And so if you go through them, they have 6 main areas, which include housing, economic growth, public health, agriculture and environment, heritage and urban form, and land use. So you can see here, for example, under housing, housing is the main area, and then they've established 3 goals. And under those 3 goals, there are action items that correlate with each one of those. So this will be similar to what we're going to do with our overall strategic planning efforts at the end of January, where we'll identify overarching themes, then we'll create some goals, and then we'll have some action plan there. So those are the 6 areas. These are goals that are established from planning and zoning, which would represent not only the city of Paris, but the county as a whole. So what happened is these came forward and were presented, but we don't show on record that they were actually formally voted on and adopted. So that's what we're bringing them back before you. The fiscal court has adopted a resolution to adopt these. And so as we're looking to finalize our comprehensive plan, we just need that on record.
Just want to highlight some of these areas for everyone. These are things that I think we've seen pop up in the last 4 to 8 years. In housing, you'll see as part of let me back up, your all's role and the fiscal court's role is to tell the planning commission and staff what the goals and objectives of the community are. You're all the elected officials, you all set what the goals are and what the objectives are, and then everything else follows those goals and objectives. So it's talking about housing. You all know the housing difficulties that this community's faced, both in the unincorporated part of the county and within the city of Paris. So this is designed in part to allow some flexibility about diverse range of housing choices and to even address flexibility and density types of issues. Of course, you all have heard that in the last 4 to 8 years. It's a continued focus on infill, where you have vacant properties And it's very difficult in a residential area because a lot of those won't meet the setbacks. And so you need to have, again, a focus on looking at variances. So a vacant piece of land or an empty structure can be rebuilt and reused. And that's a very important goal here that it has. In terms of tourism, it's focused not only on what we're very well known for and the very great job the Tourism Commission does, but look at new opportunities. I think you all have seen that growth, certainly that interest in the last several years. Another part of this, and this has been topic of conversation, is to establish a land bank. That's something we probably didn't talk about in local communities 10 years ago, and I think you've seen interest in that from some local advocacy groups who want to look at building land banks to make housing more affordable. So I can sit here and summarize them all, and I don't want to do
I
that.
haven't worked on this ad nauseum years ago, and would argue that we did approve these. I will move now, because every litigation that's ever been and will come forward is based on this. I would move we approve these goals and objectives again. I make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, Ms. Ellis, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Fields,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Yes.
Commissioner Withrow,
Yes.
Mayor Plummer,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, that brings us to our commission member board committee appointments. This is something that we do at the beginning of each year where there's election, and we look at that. We have city commission members sit and serve on a number of boards as their role as city commission or mayor. I want to make note that there are a couple of appointments that we have that commission members are appointed to, but it's not by nature of their commission member. So for example, on the Parks and Recreation Board, Commissioner Brooks is appointed. His appointment is through a term for him individually, doesn't necessarily sit with the city, with the role. So we're just going to go through today in case you look at them and go, why are we doing some and not others? These are the ones that are tied to roles specifically for the period of term. So we have the Chamber of Commerce, which Commissioner Fields currently serves on. The E911 Board, which Mayor Plummer and Commissioner Gray currently serves on. The EMS Board, which Mayor Plummer and Commissioner Gray currently serves on. The Tourism Commission, which Commissioner Fields currently sits on. The Economic Development Authority, which Mayor Plummer currently sits on as an ex officio member. The Audit Committee, which Commissioner Brooks and Commissioner Withrow currently serve on. The Investment Committee, which Commissioner-elect Galbraith sits on, and then the Work Group, which isn't necessarily formal subcommittee or committee, but it is a sub-work group. Commissioner Fields is going to assist us with that ordinance revision process. So wanted to bring this forward to either reestablish the current, or if now's a good time if you want to do any trades amongst yourselves of what you want to be on or not be on. We will have to appoint a second audit committee member, but we can work through these. I'll turn it over to discussion, how you guys want to move forward, if you want to take these one by one, if you want to see any changes. That's really at the pleasure of the commission.
I'd like to stay on the ones that I'm on.
Same here.
I'd recommend Stan go on the audit committee.
I would second that.
Can I get a confirmation from the back row on that, sir?
You don't have to choice.
Okay. All right, so, that will keep everything, we'll propose to keep the slate as remains with the revision of Commissioner Withrow being, put Commissioner-elect Galbraith in his place on that item for audit committee. I do want to note, we historically, those serving on the audit committee, in addition to the mayor, also act as check signers. So if it's the pleasure of the commission, I would like to have the motion, which would be a move to approve the proposed slate of appointment, also include revisions to the check signers as well, so that we can get that process started with the bank.
I'd move that if I'm able to. I guess that's appropriate.
That's fine.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Is there anything else we can put him on before he becomes
You can create as many subcommittees as you want.
I was threatened last time after the last meeting, so I guess I better stop.
That brings us to outside agencies, Ms. Betty Ann.
Thank you. I was notified yesterday that we received our, that we've been approved for our reimbursement grant that we get every year. I asked for $5,000 and I got $4,155. So, you know, it was close, it was close. On Friday, I attended the Bluegrass Region meeting, which was held in Carlisle at the jailer's home. We try to go to everybody's county once during the year. The big discussion was the ARPA grant, which is the final paperwork, and when I say paperwork, it means like this, is due in January. So all the money had to be spent by the end of this year, so spent every penny of it. Hopefully they will approve all of it, so, I had to give back $52 from the EDA grant, so, hopefully, all that will be taken care of and that will be quite time consuming. I'm hosting the, Bluegrass Ad THRAC Committee, and the THRAC Committee is Tourism, Historic Preservation, Recreation Advisory Committee for the 17 counties in the Bluegrass Ad, and we will be holding that meeting on the 17th at Mustard Seed Hill. Also, last Friday, I volunteered to help at the gingerbread contest in Mustard Seed Hill, and if you all have never gone down there and seen it, every year, I think it's the best it could possibly be, but this year, the entries are phenomenal, and they range from youth up to professional bakers, so the range is wide. But a group from Paris Schools, middle school, won one of the prizes, and they were there at the night when they announced it, and they were just cute as they could be. I have been asked to be on the calendar committee for Paris Schools, which is a very good thing. That way we can not be having art walk when they're having the Paris Bourbon County ball games and those kinds of things. Also coming up in January, the merchants will be meeting together for, we're going to set a calendar for the first time ever for the whole year. Now that's the goal. So that will be very helpful. I've been working with a lady, Amanda Wright, they're from Danville. They're bringing in a group of 30 to 40 tourists on February the 13th, and they call it a mystery trip. And people sign up for this trip and they don't know where they're going. So they're bringing them to Bourbon County. So we've been putting together an itinerary for them. You all know Maddie was gone. Maddie our secretary, is no longer with us. And Maddie was in charge of doing the calendar on the website. So I've learned how to do that. So you all can look at the calendar. And it's as up to date as I think it should be right now. So you just go in, click on events, and it'll pop up pictures of all the things that are going on. So, but that's like a part-time job by itself, keeping up with that. Chamber of Commerce, not that I'm reporting, but I am. They have, posted the job out there, and there's been several people that have applied. So they put together a committee to interview. and I'm on that committee, so.
Good.
Yeah,
If you
I don't
want
get
things
to
to do.
pick, but I'm on the committee. Well, it was like, we're in such we work in
Yeah.
such close proximity that I asked if I could be on that committee, so. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody else from the chamber is,
Pardon me, I believe Commissioner-elect has something for EDA that he wanted to talk about today.
Just real briefly, next Friday, the 20th at 9 o'clock, we'll be meeting our monthly board meeting for EDA down at the library at 9 o'clock. And I just wanted to point out, if some of you, everybody remember, and we're inviting everybody down to please come if you get an opportunity at 9 o'clock next Friday. But it's, I guess one of the main topics we're going to talk about is perhaps the engineers from District 7 that were here back October 1st, along with WSP, the architectural firm that did the design work on Bethlehem Road. And they're going to kind of go over that, and it actually is an overlay. It's not an overlay zone, but they're looking at improving Bethlehem Road out about 2/10 of a mile out to Church, I think it's Church of Christ, out there, First Church of God, or anyway, First Church of God. And they're going to kind of go over the plans and things, and there may be an opportunity, and I think they've come up with the plan. They have originally had 3 plans out there, A, B, and C, and I think they've made a decision on which one they're going to recommend for, and that will help improve, because Bourbon County Schools has an idea for a tech school out there on their property and do some other things. And this was all a combination of that. So if you all aren't doing anything next Friday at 9 o'clock, please come down. Thanks.
Michelle, I know we covered a couple of planning and zoning items, but I didn't know if you had anything additional for the commission.
We, I think that's not together. So in the planning and zoning office, as you all well know, we've been really, really busy. For the month of November, there were 21 building permits issued, 9 of which of those were within the city limits. There were 17 electrical permits issued, 3 of those within the city limits. We had 6 address request changes, additions, none of those were within the city. We did 1 water sewer tap. There were no stream construction permits. There were 21 building inspections completed for the month, 7 of which were within the city limits. Code enforcement, as I'm sure you all have been able to tell, is down right now, really because I am using our code enforcement officer to assist me in obtaining building permit applications, going through those, things of that nature, so I can spend more of my time where it is needed. There were, let's see, 4 planning and zoning applications for last month. 2 of them were ag land divisions, 1 was a consolidation, and 1 of them was a conditional use permit. We currently have our planning and zoning meeting scheduled for December 19th at 6:30. At this time, we have nothing on the agenda to be heard. Our next technical review committee is December 23rd at 1:30. Other than that, that's all I've got.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That brings us to city staff. You're almost through the project to keep putting you on the hot seat.
Let's see, today drywall's going up, plumbers are on site, electricians are supposed to be there. Garage doors are there to start installing today. Building 2, the awning for the open tops is on site. They keep passing plumbing inspections, electrical inspections, so. There's 4 or 5 crews out there today. Hinkle came in Friday and Saturday. Due to the weather, I recommended that they not put the surface down until the spring because I wouldn't do it to our streets. I wouldn't want it done there because it wouldn't last. But they came in and gravelled the edges, and they're gonna work on what they call wedging just making it safe for people to walk in the building and drive through and stuff like that. But, a lot of stuff going on this week, and it's all inside, so it doesn't matter if it rains or snows or whatever comes along, they've got a lot of inside work they're doing, so. Any questions?
I'm pleased to report we have spent all of the grant funding that had to be spent by the end of the year. So we're working on the closeout process for those funds. I will just continue to state, and I tell anybody I can, this project has gone extremely well. You know, kudos to the staff and the engineering and the project management and everybody involved in it, and we've added layers and with our new finance team member to look at how those monies are being spent, and it's just been, I've been involved in a lot of projects, and it has operated like a well-oiled machine, and it's really exciting to see. You don't see them go this smooth that often, not to jinx it, but really pleased with it, so. Chief Duffy? So this is an item, and I'll turn it over to Chief Duffy in a second, but you all know typically I don't ask for decision items to come forward to you all at the city staff report level. I like to have items on the agenda. This item is coming forward because we received a recommendation from yesterday's EMS board meeting, and we will not meet again until after their next EMS board meeting. So just the timing with us only having one meeting in December, wanted to bring this before you all today. So Chief Duffy, if you want to start talking about it, and then I'll kind of wrap up on that.
This is a request for, I won't say to increase our budget, but it's to spend money out of our budget that is not budgeted, but it is there. It's $34,057.81. It's for a lift that goes in the back of the ambulance. The last ambulance we had has this lift in it. It's basically to save workers' comp claims. Instead of us putting the cot in the back of the truck with two men in brute strength, it's to, it comes out, lifts up the cot, and puts it inside. I think Mr. Withrow had the honor of taking one of the first rides on that cot. It does a phenomenal job as far as saving back.
It's about 300 pounds. I mean, one worker's comp claim, you've spent 100,000, so.
Yeah. So this is a request to authorize the EMS board to make that purchase. I think it was the county physical court on Thursday night for them to do the same thing.
So the way the interlocal is set up is any unbudgeted expense over $5,000 has to come back to the city and the fiscal court for review. The EMS board is not asking for additional funds at this time. They're going to reallocate money already in their budget for this. And I do support the request because of what it is conceptually. It does, you know, the cost avoidance for a workers' comp. And I said this at the EMS board, and I'll say it here again. Just to remind them that we do have an outstanding balance that the EMS board owes back to the city for unpaid payroll. And so currently that amount sits at just shy of $850,000. So we have made progress this year to pull that down very slowly. But I put that out there as a reminder that that's something we have to continue to eat at. However, based on what the request is, they're not requesting additional funding, the cost avoidance potential. I can support recommending that request. Brad, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think you pretty much
I
summarized
think
it.
we approved the purchase of the lift for $34,057.34, whatever.
81 cents.
I'll second that, and I also wanted to mention that it's not permanently mounted to this one vehicle, correct? It can
be shifted to other trucks as we go down the road.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion on this item? Brian, do we need anything else there? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
That wasn't much.
All right, we'll come back up the table. Ms. Ellis, do you have anything, Brian?
No.
All right, well, I have a list long enough for everybody, so. Here we go. I did list chapter 54 of our ordinances as provided in your packet, a copy of the ordinance. This is an ordinance that was established in 1994 and regulates how we handle false alarms. It sets out, it's actually a pretty good ordinance in my opinion. It sets out that alarm registrations, when people put alarms in their businesses, their homes, things like that, they're supposed to register those with the city of Paris. And then there are provisions for false alarms, including, and it escalates depending on the number of false alarms that are occurring within a 12-month period. So the reason I'm bringing this forward to you, and I wouldn't normally bring forward an ordinance, but as we look at our past practice versus what our ordinance says, found that we just have not been implementing this ordinance the way it's written. So we're not proposing any changes, and chiefs here can talk to this as well, but before we started implementing something that we have not historically been implementing, I wanted to make sure to bring it to city commission to give you all an opportunity if there's any concerns, because if not, we're gonna start implementing the ordinance as written. So just wanted to bring that forward for discussion
What we
today.
did at the time, we had a particular business that we were responding to almost nightly. And, as with most ordinances, when we put it in place, things got fixed. And I guess that's why we never really, you know, it's kinda like when we did the, was the dog ordinance we did, that after we did it, things improved significantly and then you didn't enforce it. So that's kind of the age-old thing back then. It fixed it at the time, you didn't really have to follow through with it, but, I agree that, you know, if the ordinance is there, we need to be enforcing it.
Also, technology's changed. I can remember, you know, they had like a vendor in town that would wire alarms directly into our dispatch, and then phone technology changed, but then we had people that their alarm would tie up the phone system, so the person needing the call couldn't get in. So things have changed, so I do think we need to look at it, but those things can be a nuisance, and it's hard to get people's attention, and that definitely did it, didn't it?
Yeah. And then you would have, when the sun went down, you would hear the school systems on the intercom and dispatch. So
Listen to people.
they didn't have alarms, but you could hear when somebody went in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we caught a few that way. But yeah, things have changed a little bit.
And this came up just because we received the question from an alarm company, hey, do we need to register? And so that kind of started us down the path. There wasn't necessarily a challenge or anything that started this one. Chief, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
We do currently have about 700 false alarms at this point for this year. And one place I think is at almost 200, so we really need to go ahead.
Wow.
Well, no action is required since it is an ordinance already in place. We're just going to kick off this process. So you'll probably see some communication. You might get business owners or residents going, what is this about? So wanted to make sure you guys were aware before we kind of kicked off.
If someone has questions, do we tell citizens to contact a specific person or to contact you or
They can
police
contact
chief or
me,
fire
the police
department?
chief's probably the best first
Okay.
person to contact, but
Okay.
And when they can't reach him, they'll call you.
yes, sir.
The shielding might roll information too, so there's not police department.
Am I lying, Mike?
All right, going back down, I got a couple of other things. I am gonna pass around, if y'all don't mind, this is just a little postcard. You could just sign the postcard. We are putting just a small care package together for our sister city in France, so we wanted to just put together a little postcard and send it off with our signatures on that. So we'll go ahead and pass that around. As a reminder, on this Thursday, 12/12 at 9 a.m., YMCA is hosting an open house. They've invited you all to attend that. The West Side neighborhood on 12/15 this weekend at 1 p.m. at the Paris Schools Cafe is hosting their annual holiday party. They have extended an invitation to you all as well for that. On 12/18 at 2 p.m. at the new transfer station depot, we will be hosting the statewide chamber leadership program. At 2 p.m. we'll be talking about the project related to the relocation of the transfer station. So just wanted to make you all aware that that's on the calendar. On 12/19, starting at about 7 a.m., we will be hosting our annual employee breakfast at the Church of the Annunciation. Would love to see you all there. You're welcome to attend. We will, similar to last year, not be opening our front windows until 9 a.m. to allow the staff who comes in at 8 who serve the front window areas to come have breakfast before they come and open their windows. So we will make sure that gets all published unless there's any concerns there. Office closures before we meet again, December 24th and 25th, and then December 31st and January 1st, which brings us to our next meeting will be January 14th, 2025. Hard to believe. Looking out ahead for January, on January 28th, following our regular meeting, starting at about 10:30, we'll have the joint city and fiscal court meeting, the first one for the quarter. We have set dates out for the entire year to try to keep us on schedule to meet with them once a quarter. So if you have any specific topics you would like to see put on that agenda, please let us know. We'll be hosting the first one here in this room. January 29th and 30th, we will be doing our strategic planning workshop, and we're gonna do that out at the Hunt Brothers Pizza Training Room location. As a part of that, as a reminder, the citizen survey has gone out. We will keep that published through the end of December. So then we'll take that data and put it together in a report for you all for that meeting. And then I do want to recognize Commissioner-elect Galbraith, who, welcome him, he'll be coming on. We will be doing a brief swearing in for all of you all and him directly following this meeting. And the last thing that I had, and certainly we can take more time offline, and we do have a small recognition for Commissioner Withrow. I'd like to personally thank him for everything that he's done. I know that nothing any of us have to say today can really touch or express the level of gratitude for what you have done for our community. I know certainly today we're talking about your time served as an elected official, but you are Paris, right? You have poured so much into this community and the history and the knowledge and the passion. When we talk about public service and public servants, you know, that's what it's about. It truly is a rare thing to come across, and I know the city of Paris is better for what you have given to it, and I don't think you're done giving to the city of Paris. So wanted to make sure we do have a small plaque that we'll present to you after the meeting, but wanted to thank you for everything.
Well, thank you, and thank my fellow commissioners and mayor. I really have truly enjoyed serving in this capacity. Of all the things of my 43 years, I highly recommend being an elected official. It has been a joy, and I'm truly gonna miss it, but I'm not going away. I'll be around, so thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Mike.
I appreciate you, Mike. I do have your phone number, and I do know where you live, so.
Thank you, Mayor. Anytime, you know.
Okay, that's all.
Oh, yeah, we've got him on speed dial. Thank you for your expertise.
Appreciate it. Well,
I called him the Wikipedia of Paris.
I've always said he was not the Wikipedia, encyclopedia. So,
I try, though.
yeah.
I guess
If you need to
there's-
know, call Withrow.
If there's nothing else, I would move we adjourn the Paris City Commission.
Thank you, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.